Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who have been following me, you've probably noticed that at the end of each of my videos, I always end with a reminder to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. And I say this for a reason. Having self-compassion is probably the #1 tip I have for you for self-care as you work through your mental health challenges. But unfortunately, it's always what so many of us lack or find it so difficult to do. So in this video, I really want to help you by showing you how to practice self-compassion on your journey. So let's get started. Thanks for being here right now because I care about what you're working through. My name is Carole and I'm a life coach from CaroleCares.com who helps all teens and young adults work through their mental health challenges. If you are thinking of self-harming right now, please hit the video link above at any time during this video. When I began my journey to heal my childhood trauma, I had a really difficult time understanding what it meant to have compassion for myself and then allowing it to even be a thing for me. And you're not alone if you really don't understand what self-compassion means or how to practice it. But I can't stress enough how important it is for you to have compassion for yourself while you work through your mental health challenges. It'll be something that you need to remind yourself over and over as you continue with your journey. So let me begin by first looking at the meaning of the word compassion and what it means to have compassion for someone else. If you have compassion for someone else, you're able to recognize that someone is suffering, and this brings up some emotion in you because of it. And it's similar to empathy, where you may start crying when a friend cries, but with compassion, you take it a step further. Not only do you recognize or see that someone is suffering and you feel this emotion, but out of the goodness of your heart, you want to help that person. And you do it without judgment usually. I mean, it's just like a natural instinct. So it's a response of caring and kindness because you want to offer support or comfort for that person. For example, if you were to see an elderly person fall down before you and struggle to get up, you would recognize that the person's struggling. So you would feel some emotion of pity, which would cause you to help the person back up. And you would do this all without judging the person. It didn't matter what you thought about them, just out of natural instinct, you helped that person up because you saw them struggling and you wanted to relieve their pain. And that's what it means to show compassion for another person. You become aware of their suffering, you recognize and you accept your own emotions for them, and you take action to relieve the person's pain. Now, let's take this feeling of compassion that you can have towards someone else, and I want you to turn it inward. So now you have self-compassion. And really, this compassion that you show outwardly is the exact same compassion that you are being asked to show inwardly. But all of a sudden, I bet that you're feeling just a little bit uncomfortable about all of this because it involves you. And this is where compassion becomes difficult, when you try to apply it to yourself. And that's all I'm asking you to do, is show the same support and the same kindness for yourself without any judgment when you experience difficulties in your life. When you face challenges in your life, the first thing that you do is to look at your own faults or your own behaviors, and you pass judgment on yourself. I talked about this in my videos on shame. For some of you, you continue to compare yourself to others and you believe that you're just not good enough and that there's something wrong with you. And these negative thoughts that feed your anxiety and your depression, they eat away at your self-esteem. So for those of you who suffer with anxiety or depression, I'm sure that you are well aware of the thoughts that you're telling yourself. And I think you'd have to agree with me when I say that you judge yourself. And that's not showing compassion for yourself when you do this. So when I ask you to treat yourself with compassion in the same way that you would someone else, you're the first person to criticize yourself or judge yourself for not being perfect. And a lot of you can be so hard on yourselves. So I ask you this: how can you possibly begin to make any significant changes in your life if you are constantly putting yourself down. There has to be a breaking point. I mean, at some point in your journey with your mental health challenges, you have to sit yourself down and you got to say, hey, listen, if I don't have compassion for me, who else will? And that's the bottom line. Some of you are waiting for that person who's going to come along and save you. But you don't realize that that one person is you. Only you can save yourself by practicing self-compassion. And I say this because I spent a lot of my life ignoring me. And I was looking for other ways to numb my pain to help me. But this only made it worse. And I wanted someone else to take away my suffering. And I waited for years for that person to come. And my life only got harder until I was finally forced into a place of self-compassion because I realized that the people around me weren't giving me what I needed. And no one was coming to save me. So I had to get to a really, really dark place before I realized that the way out for me was practicing self-compassion. When you decide to finally surrender to having just a little bit of compassion for what you are working through right now, and only you can do that for you, you will be setting yourself on a path to tasting what real freedom from your mental health challenges feels like, finally. So if you want to start to see some real changes in your life, you have to start practicing some real compassion for yourself. And it has to start now. I don't want you to wait until you get to that shittiest, darkest, loneliest, blackest hole called hell, where I had to go, and to where some of you have already been. Because let me tell you this, when I reached that point of hell and expected someone to be there to take away all my suffering, no one could do it for me. And that's when I realized through my deepest pain that there was only one person who could do it for me. And that someone was me. And I'm telling you this now because I don't want you to have to go to that shittiest place on earth to find this out for yourself. I want you to start believing that by beginning to practice self-compassion now, you will be able to be there when you most need you. You know, there's a great expression out there that says, fake it until you make it. And you may have to do that in the beginning. Your self-compassion is not going to come instantly or all at once. It's going to take practice like everything else. But you have to start somewhere. And you have to start now. So let me show you how to practice self-compassion in your life today. I call it the 3 A's of self-compassion. First, you have to begin with awareness for your own suffering like you would for anyone else. You need to recognize when something is coming up or when you are hurting. Become aware of when feelings of anxiety or depression are setting in or when you've been triggered. Awareness is the gift in this. It really is. Because when you become aware, then you have that chance to look at something that needs to be dealt with. You need support. You need help. And this leads me to the second point. Practice acceptance of your emotions at that exact moment when they come up. Your own suffering will bring up emotions in you just like someone else's suffering would do. But you have to get rid of self-judgment when something is coming up or when you've just been triggered. And it's at this point that you have 2 choices. How are you going to deal with these emotions? Well, you can judge yourself as bad or unworthy by ignoring or numbing out because you're not going to want to deal with these emotions. In fact, you will want relief. And that means reaching out for your own way of numbing. Mine was always food or self-harming. Your second choice when all of these emotions come up says, whoa, there's something coming up right now, or I've just been triggered. And you need to look at this. I need to look at this. I know full well what happens when I get triggered. I want it to be about now, but it's not. It just feels like it is. And it's at this point that I want you to choose compassion for yourself. Accept that you're having a difficult time with what you're going through and the situation that you're in. and you have some strong emotions that are coming up. And then it's time to deal with them with self-compassion. And now the last step of self-compassion is to take action for you. You have all these emotions coming up because of your suffering. So I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to do for me right now? What do you need to do in order to relieve your suffering? Maybe you need to journal about your feelings. Maybe you need to get some anger out or some grief. Maybe you can watch one of my videos on the emotion that you're dealing with. I want you to choose to support you. How can you care for you? I want you to treat yourself with kindness and comfort like you would anyone else who is suffering, because you deserve it. Remember, no self-judgment, no negative talk. As soon as you start to judge yourself, you throw your self-compassion right out the window. And it's too easy to go down that road. If life has just handed you something really shitty, and it does, and it might even do it over and over again, this is where you have to use your courage and your strength, because it's going to be tested to the limit. I never said that this journey would be easy for you. It takes work on your part. I can guide you, but I can't do the work for you. Practicing self-compassion is the most beautiful gift that you can give yourself. And I mean every word of it. If you begin to turn your compassion inwards, and if you have to fake it until you make it, then that's where you're going to begin. And when you do, you'll also start to see some real changes in your life. You will begin to like yourself just a little bit more, even when you thought that might be impossible. So go ahead. Become aware of your suffering. Accept your emotions that are coming up and take action for you. Offer yourself kindness and support like you would anyone else, because you're worth it and you deserve it. And I know that somewhere deep down inside of you, you know that too. It's time that you give yourself a chance, because only you can do that. Until next time, if you have any further questions about self-compassion or any challenges that you may be experiencing right now, you can fill out a form on my website, CaroleCares.com, under the Ask Carole page. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Instagram. And please, let others know about my channel so that they can also get the help that they need. And as always, remember, have compassion for yourself for what you are working through, and stay safe. Bye for now.